We are in A Course in Miracles, the Manual for Teachers book. We're going through the characteristics of God. And we are on the last characteristic, open-mindedness. Page 16 in the Manual for Teachers. You want to read it or you want me to read it?
Yeah, I read it. Kind of sad it's the last one, though. I was digging these.
Oh, I know. So sad. Luckily, everything repeats in this whole giant book.
Open mindedness. The centrality of open mindedness, perhaps the last of the attributes the teacher of God acquires, is easily understood in its relation to forgiveness. When its relation to forgiveness is recognized, open mindedness comes with lack of judgment. As judgment shuts the mind against God's teacher, so open mindedness invites him to come in. As condemnation judges the Son of God as evil, so open mindedness permits him to be judged by the voice of God on his behalf. As the projection of guilt upon him would send him to hell, so open mindedness lets his Christ image be extended to him. Only the open minded can be at peace, for they alone see reason for it.
Yeah, so we always have we really have judgment going on all the time. That's how, according to the Course, how the physical world was created. We have perceived into existence, right? We have projected our guilt, really. Ultimately, it's this guilt, but this perception, this meaning, we projected it out. And so this is the open-mindedness, is the openness for the shift to see through Christ's eyes instead of through through the ego's eyes. And then when we do that, we see what Christ would see, which is sameness, instead of what the ego would see, which is difference. Verse 2.
How do the open minded forgive? They have to let go all things that would prevent forgiveness. They have in truth abandoned the world and let it be restored to them in newness and in joy, so glorious they could never have conceived such a change. Nothing is now as it was formerly. Nothing but sparkles now, which seemed so dull and lifeless before. And above all things, welcoming, I'm sorry, and above all are things welcoming, for threat is gone. No clouds remain to hide the face of Christ. Now is now is the goal achieved. Forgiveness is the final goal of the curriculum. It paves the way for what goes far beyond all learning. The curriculum makes no effort to exceed its legitimate goal. Forgiveness is its single aim, at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough.
Nothing is now as it was formerly. They have let all things that would prevent, they have let go of all things. Forgiveness and letting go are the same in this way. It's forgiving is letting go of my perceptions, letting go of my judgments. And now, nothing as it was formerly. I like it when it says, nothing but sparkles now, which seems so dull and lifeless before. Isn't that nice? It reminds me of like, I mean, there's a bunch of movies like this, but it reminds me of The Shire with the Lord of the Rings,
Uh,
with Frodo or whatever, and life's kind of, the adventure is calling him outside of the fire, and he wants to go out, and there's something about staying there which is not enough. It's not enough for him. He's being called on this adventure. He needs to go on it. But when you're on the adventure and the drama and the death of it all, like the danger and it's like they all sit around and they just wish they were back there in that little life that they had, that they may not have really appreciated at the time. They were like, oh, it's just kind of boring. But then once they finally can get back to it or think about it, especially they think about it when they're sitting around getting hunted by the bad guys. And I was like, wow, that would be so great. If we can just get back there, life would be so wonderful. But if I could let go of all my judgment, I could realize that what I have right now is the same way. It's like what I have right now sparkles. It's so wonderful. It's so perfect. Life exactly like it is right now. And the only thing I require for that is letting go of my judgments, forgiving how I've judged my life as it is right now. And if I did, it would be like a life that sparkles. Like, this is such an amazing life I have. How did I get so lucky? Same with especially your life. Way better than mine.
I was gonna say I miss having the little kids around,
Yeah, I know. My life's way better than yours.
Yeah, you get the little ones. But then it's like, hey, it's like, can I go through another 20 years of that?
You know.
Reset the clock, you know. All right.
Please. All right.
Number
Great.
3. You may have noticed that the list of attributes of God's teachers does not include things that are the Son of God's inheritance. Terms like love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, and eternal truth do not appear in this context. They would be most inappropriate here. What God has given is so far beyond our curriculum that learning but disappears in its presence. While yet its presence is obscured, the focus properly belongs on the curriculum. It is the function of God's teachers to bring true learning to the world. Properly speaking, it's unlearning that they bring, for that is the true learning in the world. It is given to the teachers of God to bring the glad tidings of complete forgiveness to the world. Blessed indeed are they, for they are the bringers of salvation.
So these characteristics that it's saying, they're not attributes of God, because these things, love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, they're not attributes because it's part of identity, really. And
Mm.
that's what atonement is. Atonement is when you experience the holy moment, this moment of perfection, this moment of completion, when you realize that you're the same as the other, you're the same as your brother, you're the same as the one that you've been judging. I'm the same as the one that is my enemy or my friend, or everybody. The one I'm protecting, or the one that I wish would love me or I wish would go away. Either I'm the same as them, and in that sameness expands and includes the world. It includes all things, and that's atonement. Is that uh, the place the thing that I wish I could be, the thing that I wish I could achieve, the place I wish I could go it's all a part of me already. I'm already there. We're already in heaven, so to speak.
Right.
But how does that make sense? It makes no sense if I think I'm a body. If I think I'm a personality or I think I'm my body, that doesn't make any sense. So then the question is, well, if I'm not a body, who am I? Well, that's the big question. That is the big question that these things are pointing to.
So when you're sitting there in silence and you ask yourself, who am I? What do you hear?
You know, well, good question. What do you hear? It's always different, but the answer in that is not necessarily. That's what all the koans would point to, because we want answers, nice little clean answers, which are just thoughts, right? These little word buckets that are supposed to be nice and neat, and we can put them in our small little view of the world that we created, and it fits into an ego plan. So, and then we can make a religion out of it, and then we can make a club out of it or whatever, and we can keep people out of it because you're not following our rules. And we can keep people in, and now we can control, and we can keep separation going. But that's not reality. Real reality is all inclusive. Atonement is we're all one and already at home, and there is no separation between us. So there's no words for that, because as soon as you start adding words and describing and parsing this from that, um, the the act of defining and putting words starts to is the act of is an ego act, right? We want to put a word on it, because
Mhm.
once I can call you a friend, then I can call you an enemy, right? I have this and that. I have an in and an out. Once I label anything, but God's way and ultimate reality is more fuzzy. It's not as delineated. There's not there's not as many definitions on it. It's more of an egoic thing that we want to define everything. And so in meditation, that's why meditation, the whole process of meditation is more of a letting go process. You're letting go of your mind, trying to judge everything, judging like this moment. Am I quiet enough? Am I thinking too much? I can't stop thinking. Oh my gosh, I'm bad at meditation. I'm so bad at this. I can't stop thinking. I'm just gonna stop. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing today? Oh shoot, I got that report to do. Oh my, oh, well, tomorrow. Oh, I gotta make dinner. Oh, I gotta call my wife. Oh, my kids. I forgot I have that teacher meeting. Your mind just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And then we think that's bad meditation. I did bad at that. But that's all of life. It's all of life. Meditation is a it's like a amplifier of the practice of being at peace, and it amplifies it because all those little subtle things, those little thoughts that we can't control, uh, we're able to see them, and it's almost unbearable sometimes because you're noticing all these thoughts and how fast they come, and how you can't control them, and you're trying to control them. You're trying to do meditation, in air quotes, to not have these thoughts, but you can't. But that's the point, is you can't. All along, these thoughts that I think are my thoughts, they're not my thoughts. These thoughts are happening. And that's a wild thought, that my thoughts are not my thoughts. Whose thoughts are they? If they're not your thoughts, they're somebody's. Yeah.
It's
And
the illusion, right?
the what?
That's the illusion. These
Yeah,
thoughts. Yeah, it's all part of that dream.
it's part of it. If they're not your thoughts, if they are your thoughts, well, then stop having them. But when you notice you
Right.
can't stop, then then you might think, well, whose thoughts are they? Now, I think that they're ultimately your thoughts, but the thing that we are identifying as me, this thing called Javon or Kristen or Brian, it's not really the real you. You're not really the decision maker. The personality is not the decision maker. Personality is just the mask that is having the experience of a separate life. You know, this personality is male and this other one's a female and this one has these characteristics and it's not that one. And so that personality has been written, the script. And there's a decision maker that's chosen to be in the separate world of sin and guilt instead of in the world of oneness of love and peace. Because being in the separate world of sin and guilt is fun. I think. I mean, I don't know why we choose this, but it's surprising, right? It's full of surprises. What's going to happen next? I don't know. It's full of surprises all the time.
You're describing my situation right now.
Yeah.
And that, I think there's always an issue that I have with overthinking, like, are they really your thoughts? And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. Like, what's the difference between overthinking and your thoughts?
Nothing.
Right? I mean, we were landed with like, something life-changing that we're dealing with right now. Family and I are fine. We're doing great. But there's a big struggle coming ahead and, overthinking on things or like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Like, how do I control this? I don't know what to do. I'm landed a huge responsibility that I never thought I had to face before. And I am just like a chicken with my head cut off. What do? Do I just calm down, relax, everything's going to be okay?
Mm.
We're the Chateaubriandians. Hello. So yeah, life is a struggle. I think that's what's hard is, like, you feel like you're not yourself. You feel out of place. So how do you pull yourself back together?
Yeah. Life is a struggle. That is true. And that's part of this perceived reality, this being a person. Being a person is a struggle, and being in a body is a struggle. And the striving is what keeps us alive. But striving is difficult when we perceive it as difficult, but it's, being alive, if you perceive it as, the freedom to move and think and do, your body needs striving, everything needs striving to continue to be alive, and it dies really quick with absolutely no striving.
Yeah.
And so the stress comes from when you think you have to have it figured out. You think you have to have the outcome clear or sure, or, I have to control the outcome.
Yes. I feel I have to control the outcome.
And when you
But
do,
I don't know.
that's the definition of attachment. And that's where all suffering comes from. All suffering comes from that. And the reality is there's no difference in the attachment to an outcome versus a non-attachment to an outcome. Doesn't have to control how you participate. Like, you can continue to participate. Let's, like, for example, just providing for your family. I'm going to participate every day with my job and work, try to get these deals done. But whether I make the money or I don't make the money, I really don't know. And me stressing about it doesn't help. In fact, it might actually hinder hinder my outcomes, right?
Hmm.
It might make me perform less good. It's certainly a less preferable experience while I work away. It sucks. And in fact, if I was rich, super duper rich, I might just do the same thing because it's a pretty cool job. Like, what else am I gonna do? Maybe I do it anyway. And then super duper rich, I don't need the money. Would that, what would that be like? Well, might be just interesting math problems, right? Doing these loans for people. It's like, no, can't do it. Oh, it's not gonna work. Sorry. Oh, that worked. Yeah. Wow, look at that. $100 million loan. Interesting. Okay, moving on. All these things that would have maybe gotten me excited before because I'm attached to an outcome, or sad before because I'm attached to the outcome. Oh, this bad thing happened to the family. Oh, I guess I'll be open and available for everybody. As opposed to, oh no, we gotta have that outcome. Ah.
Yeah, no, that's true. That like, I can't go into too much detail, but with my husband, he has a son same age as Liam, and him and his mom live in Fullerton, and we found out that she's been doing some not so good things. Um, so basically, CPS has taken over and handed him over to us, but he's a very, very troubled child. He's missed about a whole month of school already. Doesn't go to school because she's not home. I can't give too much, but like I'm landed with, my husband works. I work from home. I'm the one who takes care of the kids, and then I have to take care of him. And it's just I have this projection of like everything's gonna go wrong. My husband and I are gonna fight over this. I'm gonna have to cancel family trips coming up in like 5 months from now, and I shouldn't like overthink like that, and I shouldn't project like that. I should just be like, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
hard.
you can definitely stress about what's going to happen because it's really hard to figure that one out, right? You don't have any clear precedents of what's going to happen when this happens, right? This situation hasn't happened before, and then, or even worse, maybe something remotely similar happened, and okay, this happened before this way in this other situation, so I deduce that it's going to happen similar in this situation, and I don't want that outcome. And so now either way, you can stress out, right, and be sad.
Mhm.
But if there's an outcome that you cannot have, you absolutely cannot have it, that's the same. That's attachment. It's the same as I have to have this particular outcome. That's also attachment. I have to whatever, have quiet in my house at 6 p.m. I have to have my husband do this or do that. I have to have my kids not do this or do that. Whatever. Anytime I have to anything, I suffer greatly because I'm
Yeah.
resisting this reality that's showing up that I don't have any control of. I don't have control
Well,
of reality. At least
this
my
alleviates your
personality.
responsibility too. You're putting it on somebody else because they're not following your rules. Now you're not responsible for what's happening there. It's their fault that they're doing that to upset you.
Yeah, it's even worse when I
Mhm.
do it with others. You think you'd be able to control yourself, which once again, that's another one that you can't control. This
Yeah.
personality. Like I have to get my shit together. I have to be more peaceful. I have to be more successful. I have to meditate. I have to stop yelling at my kids. I have to stop getting angry. I have to not be stressful. I have to be peaceful. I have to be happy. Happy.
Yay.
Be happy. And then if I'm not, any have to, literally think of any have to that you can think of. If you have to, it's synonymous with attachment. And if you're attached to anything, either attached to good or attached to not bad, it's the same exact thing where you're stuck. And that stuckness, that anchoring into the unpreferred, gives you the experience of the unpreferred right now, and you suffer.
Yeah. Attachment leads to judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vicious circle.
The judgment is that stake that nails it into your experience. That's a good one. It's a good little analogy. So that doesn't mean that you don't try to be your best stepmom or whatever you are, or it doesn't mean also that, we're all having our own experiences, and you just don't know what these other people's destiny is. I was working with my youngest. He's an 8-year-old, Charlie. He is so expressive, man. The guy's just like big emotions. And he doesn't know what to do with them, and so he ends up getting a big emotion. And he usually attacks. He's like, he calls people names and yells, like really intensive yell at him. What?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Thought you were saying something. Anyway, he in his.
You know what? I'm sorry. Let me mute you guys really quick. It's a little loud.
Sure.
Go ahead.
In his expressiveness, he's just expressing it, right? He's and me, like a crazy person, he screams and gets like overly attacky. He gets all attacky, and then I get all upset because he's like over the top, just like screaming out of nowhere and angry, and like kicks the dog and tells me he hates me, and tells my wife she's a bad mom. And I'm like, don't be so disrespectful. Ah. And then I attack back at him like a crazy person. But all the while, if I were to be like, wow, buddy, that's a lot of emotions you got. Really hard. I know it's a lot. It's really hard to be able to process such big emotions. You're a good kid. These are big emotions. Let's be, come over here. I love you. Let's be nice. There's a different way. Give him, and kind of distract him and pick him up. Maybe give him a big hug. He just melts when I do that. He just melts, like completely melts. Like, all his attack is gone. But when his attack stimulates my attack and I attack, it gives him more attack. It's like more judgment, more attack, more, separation. It doesn't work at all. But I do that to myself as well. This is bad. I need it different. I do it to you. You're bad. You need a different situation. This is bad. I need it different. Instead of just open heart, I love you. I love you, bad experience. We could do that with just our experience of life. This is unpreferred. I love you, bad experience. Come on in. We're going to work on this together. This is completely unpreferred, but we're going to figure it out together.
Would you call that being open-minded?
That is a good example of open-mindedness.
Yes, sir.
Now, the problem is it does not help me get to my agenda, my personality's agenda. It doesn't get there. In fact, it puts my agenda in danger. So, am I willing to sacrifice my agenda for the peace of God? That's a good question. Because
that is the question.
It's really easy to say no. I can't let go of my agenda. My agenda is right and good, so I will fight to the death for it. Which is fine. It's actually not a bad thing, but the experience, what it's saying here about love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, eternal truth. Those aren't an attribute of God. That's who you are. That's the experience of you, of your true identity is love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, eternal truth. But the way that you experience who you are is by letting go of all these layers of judgments that we put upon ourselves, which is our personality, which is made of judgments. Personality is made of perceptions, projected thoughts. And so to experience myself, I need to let go of all these layers of judgments, perceptions, projected ideas. Let go. That's what forgiveness is. Just let them go. But it's really painful to let them all go because we think we need them to stay alive. We think we need them to get to where we want to go. But that's the lie. It's through letting go. It's that story of the guy falling off the cliff and he's hanging by a root on the side of the cliff. And he looks down and it's just thousands of feet down on certain death. And he looks up, it's way too far up to climb. So he yells, "Help God, help God." And he hears a voice, and the voice says, "I am God, I am God." "Oh, great God, what did I do?" And God says, "Let go." And the guy stops for a moment, and then he says, "Is anybody else up there?" And that's what we're doing over and over again. God gives us the answer. It's very simple. But the answer is not what we want because it doesn't fit in my agenda. It doesn't fit in what I can perceive as the linear process that I can control to get where I think I want to go. The answer is always let go and let happen what's happening. So for Kristen, maybe a new person coming into the family, that seems like that's going to be tumultuous, and maybe it will. For Brian, it's just being overly handsome all the time. And it's hard to know if people really like him for his personality or if it's just his handsomeness. You'll never know.
No, that's not for my money, so it's got to be the other thing.
For me, I'm dealing with my children and domestic life that stops me from being a full-time spiritual guru, meditating in a cave. What is it? Sue people interrupting her from the things that she's doing that are so great. They're just interrupting her all the time. Bastards.
Interrupting, not listening,
Not listening.
Doing their part.
Yeah, see, bastards.
Putting their crap on me.
Don't put your crap on me.
How dare they?
I know. And so we always have the perfect opportunities all the time to let go. And it's always the same answer: let go. And that letting go is forgiveness. And in forgiveness, when I let go, always, all the time, every time, the thing that we're striving for is already ours. Love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, eternal truth, abundance, contentment. It's already ours. It's just underneath all the stuff that we think we have to strive and achieve and convince. We think we have to strive, achieve, convince, influence, all that stuff to get it. But we don't need to get the thing we're looking for. We are it. So the answer is not addition, it's negation. We need to let go of our agenda. And in that nothingness, we'll start to experience ourselves, the thing we're searching for, which is very counterintuitive.
That's so tricky.
Tricky.
To let go of the, we're calling it agenda. I think normally we would call them goals, right?
Or even worse, you'll call it, yourself
aspirations. Yeah, because those are, I mean, if you're not going to, then why? Right? Even waking up at before 5 a.m. or before 6 a.m. right after the time change. So it's actually like 4:45 a.m. that we had to wake up in order to well, I don't know about you guys. So like I have to put on my contacts and yeah, before, so it's like, why even go through that effort if you don't have a goal of
That's right.
spiritual enlightenment and not getting your kids to behave like assholes that make you look bad,
I
and
know, seriously.
have people around you that aren't going to hear you, or just going to be talking about whatever they want to talk about and do, and not, and like try to get you to do whatever. It's like, why, and then trying to see them as whole and perfect, and whatever they're doing to cause me discomfort is actually for my benefit. Like, why bother going through all that if you don't have the goal, if you don't have some kind of a goal?
I think the real mystery is not is that we love the whole thing. We love it. We love the pursuit of our stuff, but the thing that is such a mystery is we love the experience of the suffering just as much as we love the experience of our supposed uh like peace and joy and love, because the ego's perception of peace and joy and love and the ego's perception of suffering, they're both isolated, defined experiences. Meaning we say as an ego, I like this and I don't like that. Right? We define the two, which means that the experience that we have of it is not reality. It's our defined experience of reality. We've defined one good and one bad, one preferable, one unpreferable. And our preferences that we put on everything is just like everything else that we've defined and made into separate experiences, and these separate bad ones and these separate good ones. And just like everything else, it's part of this created world, this egoic world of separation, sin, and guilt. And the Holy Spirit looks on the whole thing and just sees wonderful beauty. That's why there's beauty from ashes. Well, the ashes don't have to not be ashes. The ego says you have to change the ashes. The ashes have to be a pretty tree, and then I'll love it. But the Holy Spirit makes beauty from ashes, meaning there is no different. The ashes don't have to become something else for you to love them. They can stay ashes. You know, that people could stay interrupting, and my kids can stay disrespectful, and my bank account could stay, low, or my uh, family members can stay disrespectful, and on and on and on it goes. Like I don't need it to change necessarily to see the beauty. All I need to do is see my judgment and let it go, and then be at wonder of it all. It's like, it's actually really crazy to think, wow, this dynamic is so entertaining. This is wild. Oh my gosh, how interesting. Oh wow, look at you. You're a murderer. Oh wow, that's such a great role. You've come to kill this body. Oh, that's so nice. I hope it goes well for you and you have the experience that you wanted. Right? That's never going to happen though, if you think you are your body. You're going to freak out if you think you are your body. Can you get there? It's possible. I mean, I think I'm my body most of the time. I forget. But that's the work.
Well, they say our lives are a gift from God. So, I mean, are we acting like that in our daily activities? Like this is a gift that we've been given, and we're treating it like that, and we're approaching life like that, or we're treating it more like, like you said, we're on the agenda. We're trying to do certain things and achieve these things and avoid other things. And how are we looking at, at those perspectives?
Yeah. Perception is everything here. And so I think the one practice that I think is been really valuable for me anyway, is just to keep watching yourself. Watch yourself get angry or frustrated or disheartened. Any of those negative experiences on the line of resonance, right? From super low resonance to super high resonance, just watch yourself. And it's really interesting to see how your resonance or your experience goes up and down when it's attached to just preferred outcomes. Because if it is, you're stuck with this. You're stuck in being happy when the world appears in a certain way. And when it appears in a different way, then you're stuck being sad, depressed, angry. And that life it's kind of a painful life. You could have a wonderful life. Like what Brian and I were talking about at the beginning. It's like, wow, we have such a wonderful, perfect life. Or we could have a wonderful, perfect life. But your wonderful, perfect life, you could hate. Every single person, well, I would say there's for sure been somebody that had the life that you wished you could have, that you were sure if you had, you would be happy, that hated their life. They were whatever it was, right? They had the family, or they were single and free, or they were beautiful, or they were handsome, or maybe they were unknown. Maybe you wish you were popular. They were popular and miserable. You wish you were unknown because everybody's bothering you because you're so famous and popular. There's obviously a bunch of unknown people that are miserable. I mean, you wish you were rich. Well, how many rich, miserable people are there? Lots of them. You wish you were starting over again because life was more fun when it was a challenge. Well, how many people are starting over with lots of challenge and miserable? Anything that you could wish for, there's someone that has it and more, and yet they're still miserable. Even kill themselves, miserable. And the reason is, if you think that the external world changing is what's going to make me happy and content, that is the same impulse to not be happy now. It's that impulse of I need to seek but do not find. The ego's mantra. Seek, 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 seek. Do, 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 do. Have your whole identity be in the doing. Because if you are, then you'll stay separate and you'll keep the world alive. The ego's just trying to keep the world alive. But you're not that. You're not the doing. Well, actually more of the doing than what the physicalness that we think we are. But when you are the doing, for example, and you let go of the result of the doing, that's called, like psychologists have called that flow. And that's supposed to be one of the highest states you can get to as far as pop psychology, because you're letting go completely of the outcome. There's no outcomes at all. You're just in the doing. And in the purity of that, seek but do not find. In the purity of that, without attachment, it's actually a wonderful lost place, because you, if you've ever been in those places, you're not thinking, you're just like in the process of the doing of the thing to get to the outcome. And it's wonderful. It feels like meditation to me, where you get lost and you don't have to, so many words anchored, so many pictures in your mind. You're more free.
It really only comes after a level of mastery, though, right? And whatever it is that drives you to gain that level of where your body kind of knows what to do, so that your mind can get out of the way. But your mind has to be the one, your mind or somebody else's mind has to be the one to kind of train you first. And then you kind of know what to do in order to.
Yeah. Well, if you have a particular outcome, that's the case. But
How can you be in a flow state without getting into an outcome? Like without getting an outcome? If you're not getting some kind of an outcome, how would we even define somebody as having been in a flow state?
Well, you're presupposing that you have to have a particular outcome to be in a flow. Flow is your body's, you're just giving yourself to the action, and you're not thinking about it so much. And we, from the outside, we say, if you're in the flow, then you're going to create something beautiful and good. Judgment, right? Don't create something bad and ugly. But you can just as easily be a kid finger painting and be lost in it. You know, is there a bad finger paint? Like, that is ugly, kid. Do not ever finger paint again. You do not have the calling of finger painting. I'm sorry. Just gotta stop immediately. And they could be lost in it. And that's wonderful. And the only thing that makes it a bad finger painting is, you know, some asshole that tells a kid they're a bad finger painter. Like, who would do that? Can you get lost in that? Absolutely. Can it be a wonderful flow state? Absolutely. You know, and just like anything else, you just be curious. Like, oh, interesting. Wow. So interesting. Well, I wonder how this works. I wonder how this works. And it's only when, you know, I'm working on figuring out a bunch of AI technology, different technology that's coming out like crazy. And it's really interesting, and I can get really lost in it, just learning one thing to the other, figuring out how it works. But then it turns super frustrating when I have a particular outcome. Like, okay, now I need this website to be published. It's like, oh, I can't get it to work. Versus what I was doing before, which is just kind of like, oh, wow, interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. Just put in some prompts. Okay, I can view it. I can view it in, you know, inside the context window. It gives me a preview. Wow, that's cool that works. Let's look over here. Oh, well, I can upload that. I can. Interesting. Now I have a particular thing. My judgment comes in, my attachment to this one particular outcome. I can't get there. And now my flow state is totally derailed. And I'm pissed off and frustrated because I have introduced attachment. It has to be a certain way. But create any kind of high-end creativity, often the artist doesn't know what's going to happen. One of Stephen King's best things that I read, I really liked it. It was inspiring. He said he doesn't know where his characters are going to end up. He has to ask the characters, and he lets them tell him where they need to be. He's like, if you try to make up where the character is going to end up in the story, it's going to be a predictable story. It's like, I can't guess it at the beginning. I want it to be a surprise. I let them tell me. And you're thinking, aren't you the one writing it? How can your characters tell you? Well, maybe. Are you the one thinking your thoughts? Maybe Stephen King is a spiritual guru. We didn't know it. Maybe he's picked up on that a little bit, that he's not the one thinking his thoughts. The Greek concept of genius, they use it more of a like a possession. They say they open themselves up to genius, and so it's not something that they can achieve. It's something they open up to, and the genius, that's almost like this other spirit possesses them, and the genius comes through them. And a lot of times that's what it's like if you just let go, and it's something new comes that you didn't expect, you couldn't have figured out. In fact, your attachment to the good thing might and most likely would have killed the new beautiful thing that you never would have imagined. But it requires letting go. And it also, to have a happy outcome, it also requires letting the bad thing happen. You know, Kristen's fears might happen. The husband's son might be a tyrant. You know, my son's definitely a tyrant. The 8-year-old version.
He is. He's a total asshole. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. So there's nothing that says you have to do one thing or another. You know, people end up on the streets all the time as the results of their choices. My mom's ended up on the street a bunch of times. Yeah.
Well, and it's a blessing to be around those people that you get that come into your life, because they might need certain things that you have access to, and certain, you know, ways of thinking that you might be already in tune with, that they might need to access to those tools as well. You know, and you just don't know at the time until they come in and you're able to say, okay, yeah, here's a new way of looking at things, and here's how things can be done without, you know, the way you've been doing it and not having a good outcome. Here's some other ways that you might want to try. And a lot of it's for kids. It's sleep patterns, it's diet, it's just stuff like that, common sense type stuff that they're not getting in their day-to-day lives because there's such chaos and commotion, and the people that are involved in their lives just aren't taking care of that for them. You know?
Absolutely. All that stuff will help. But once again, all that stuff is in with the presupposition that there's a good outcome and a bad outcome. Don't get me wrong. I want the outcomes I want. The personality wants it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting no screaming in your house, and people being kind, and everyone being industrious towards a wonderful goal that everyone agrees is a wonderful goal. There's nothing wrong with any of that. This whole conversation is about my peace and contentment, though. My peace and contentment have nothing to do with my goals that I'm attached to, even if they're good goals. My peace and contentment have to do with how much I'm unattached to my goals. As I pursue my goals, if I'm unattached to them, I actually enjoy the pursuit more. If I'm attached to a good and wonderful goal, I will suffer as I move towards this wonderful goal.
And that goal, including your peace and contentment as a goal, even the goal of,
yes,
come on, make it too hard. You can't even have the goal of peace and contentment.
Yes. That is the tricky part. And you'll just notice how tricky you can be. You're very tricky. You can be a very very spiritually egoic. And
I know, because obviously having some other person come into your home is definitely not going to be helpful to your peace and contentment.
That's going to be difficult, yes.
A whole human being bringing their problems and their patterns and their dirty dishes and
all that
smelliness and laundry and oh God, like
So whether they, whether they act right or don't act right, my forgiveness or letting go is what gives me my own peace along the way, or contentment. It is as it should be. And to be honest, the things that are more difficult are more rewarding in the personalities world, because we get bored. Everybody gets bored with too much sameness, and everybody gets overwhelmed with too much difference. Like, we want both things. We want the surprise button, and we want the security button. We want both things. Some people want more security than others. Some people want more variety than others. But we want both things. But all it is I don't know what's going to happen versus I know what's going to happen. And so,
Okay.
so in the end, if you got too much sameness and you accept it, well, then now it's a spiritual practice. And if you have too much difference in your life and variability and you accept it, well, now you're on a spiritual practice. It's like, it's just, I want to accept what I have and be thankful. And I want to go for what I want. And whatever happens is perfect. That's why it's perfect. Not because it's preferred, but because it is your destiny. It's part of the script that you wrote, but you don't remember.
Because I don't know what's best for me. So
You do not know your own best interest.
Nope.
At least the personality doesn't. Brian doesn't know Brian's best interest. Javon doesn't know Javon's. Sue doesn't know Sue's, and Kristen doesn't know Kristen's. You think you would? Come on. Don't you know your own best interest? But the great thing is, the really great thing is, you have what you need. You have what you require. You actually have your own best interest right now. And then, especially if you hate it, it's like, man, you've really zeroed in on your best interest then. Because it's isolated the thing that is really hindering you from the contentment that you already are. You just covered it up with a bunch of layers. Now you've isolated it, or whatever that is. It's like this cover up piece radar. It goes red. And that's what it is. It was like, wow. It's wild. Wild stuff. All right, 7:03.
I love being here. So Scott, I mean, this is perfect.
So perfect. You're like, I hate being here. It must be perfect. Pisses me off all the time.
Open-minded.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for meeting with me.
Thank you.
All
Yes,
right. Have a
thank
good
you.
week, you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.